Welcome to the 16th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Riddell of the Altoona Mirror, Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com, Sports Director Casey Kantz of WTAJ Sports, and a special guest analyst each week. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona, ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
It is another year of the NitWits. Welcome inside, folks, to a new Penn State football season. The panel is back. Neil Riddell, Mark Brennan, Mike Irwin with us again for another year as well. Guys, no shortage of storylines for this week one trip to MetLife Stadium to take on Syracuse. We're going to break everything down for you coming up here over the course of the next half hour or so. But first, let's talk about the man at the top, head coach Bill O'Brien entering his second season at the helm. And I guess we'll start at the top. And what's impressed you about this guy so far? An 8-4 season, his first year last year, and this offseason from his media sessions and his press conferences, the way he handles practice. Take your pick. What's impressed you?
I would say, in a word, everything. I mean, I just don't think he could have exceeded anybody's expectations any higher than he already has, whether it's on the field, off the field, keeping the program together, the openness that he's dealt with and the relationships he's created. I think so far it's been a tremendous hire.
Yeah, for me it's difficult to believe the difference in this program from last year at this time after the sanctions had hit and everybody was really wondering, is this going to be a viable program, to now. Now all of a sudden you have ESPN All Access, painting the program in a flattering light. Recruiting's doing really well. Now, I don't think anybody's naive enough to think that this is going to be a title contender through these sanctions. There's going to be some difficulties, but this is a viable program for the foreseeable future. And I will bet you that there are a lot of coaches out there in the Big Ten praying that Penn State does not get these sanctions reduced, because if this guy gets a full complement of scholarships, look out.
I look at it like all these other coaches. If you had to go out throughout the country looking for a coach, I don't think there's anybody any better than Bill O'Brien. I mean, I look at Urban Meyer and Nick Saban and some of those people that had a lot of success, but the way he came in there and handled the adversity and kept moving on and stay focused on, what they are able to do. And I know they only have, 65 players now, so they're showing more adversity. But the way O'Brien, he brought everybody together down there. The other coaches, the university, I mean, everybody working as a unit now, and I think O'Brien's been instrumental in starting that and getting everybody enthused about the program.
Hey, Mark, you make a good point too. Sitting here and how we were sitting here last year and how the university and the football program and what we were talking about, the difference of topics that we were talking about. How is this team going to overcome what was going on last year? And 8-4. I mean, the offense just takes a huge step forward. A bunch of unproven guys. I mean, it was fantastic to watch.
There's an interesting dichotomy to me, and part of it, and a lot of Penn State fans will hate this, is that the job that this staff is doing lets you know that, how difficult things were for Joe at the end of his career, getting up there in age. And so you can look at it from that perspective, but the other side of it is the foundation that Joe built. I think we're quick to forget that. There's no way any of this happens without the facilities, without the reputation, without the academics. So yeah, I do think toward the end of his career, things were getting difficult for Joe. But by the same token, he had built this great program, this great foundation, and you have to give him all sorts of credit for doing that.
And that's really a big part of his legacy, all the structures, the stadium and all the facilities, as you mentioned. But they had really become on the field about an 8-4 loss program, over the course of the last decade almost. So, and now the expectations are that they should be able to reach that with their hands tied behind their back. I mean, the job that they have done, particularly in offensive and quarterback development, and I think it's going to be real interesting to see two inexperienced quarterbacks, how they do with these guys.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it from a Letterman point of view and the culture that was Joe established down there. I mean, I think it's the most active Letterman club in the country, and they're constantly, they had that common bond with Joe Paterno, and now Bill O'Brien stepping in there and how he handled it. But kept a couple of the better coaches on staff and has made a great transition. I mean, he stands for all the same things that Joe Paterno stood for. I mean, academics, and if you look down the academic record of some of these kids on the team, the Urschels and getting 4.0s and, perfect 4.0 through his whole career there. I mean, but they developed that.
Joe used to call him the smart kid from Buffalo.
Well, and O'Brien had one of the best lines ever at last year's media day when he said, we're not a team of rocket scientists, except for Urschel, of course.
Yeah.
But I think you can see, both guys are brown guys.
Yeah.
And it's funny as you see this go along, you see so many similarities, at least I do, between, and Mike, I'm sure you could probably speak to this better than anybody, between Bill O'Brien now and where Joe was at the beginning of his college coaching career.
I thought of that, I was thinking about that the other day, looking back on Joe's first couple years. And, I mean, he was about the same age probably as O'Brien when he took over. I mean, O'Brien is amazing for a 41-year-old, 42-year-old guy. The way he's been able to handle all the assistant coaches, the players, and unify all those people and keep them as a team. I mean, I don't think anybody could have done it any better.
I think the excitement level. I mean, we all love Joe, the whole history, but I think people were worn down on the kind of offense that he did want to play. And the excitement level going in. I mean, look what they did with McGloin last year. He may make the Raiders. And that kind of success story, I think people are looking forward to an entertaining type of season, regardless of what the record is or what Mike might predict.
Guys, the big storyline, of course, the quarterback
That's
situation.
The big storyline, what Mike may predict.
You know what? That is a big. I did mention storylines. That might be the biggest one. We'll talk about that in a bit. We'll also talk about the quarterbacks. This one, the quarterback battle that is this year, featuring two guys with 0 to none Division I experience, at least from a starter standpoint. The panel will break down Christian Hackenberg and Tyler Ferguson. Coming up next.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental.
Alrighty, back here on the Nitwits, another year, and what do you know? It's another quarterback battle in Happy Valley. The highly touted freshman Christian Hackenberg and JUCO transfer Tyler Ferguson, the ones battling this year. Most recently, you remember the Rob Bolden, the Matt McGloin battle as well. And Mike, quarterback battles go back even to when you were playing back. Yeah. This is something that we're used to in Happy Valley.
Yeah, I remember my junior year, Jack White and Tommy Sherman were battling for quarterback. And White started the first 3 or 4 games, and then they switched Sherman, and White never got his job back again. Sherman went on and played in the NFL. He played with Buffalo and a couple other teams, and then ended up coaching down at Virginia with George Welsh. But as far back as I can remember, there's been a lot of controversy at quarterback. I mean, every year it seems like you're battling, who's going to be the quarterback this year.
Neil's favorite was John Sacca and Kerry Collins down in Iowa. We nearly came to blows over that one.
Neil, Ferguson.
I think Sacca left, he just drove immediately to Phoenix.
Ferguson, Hackenberg, what do each of those guys bring?
Well, I'm not sure who's going to start the season, but I kind of get the idea that Hackenberg is going to be the quarterback. Now, I don't know if it'll happen in the first game. It very well might, because it seems that Bill O'Brien continues to push this timetable back further. He said initially he wanted to have a quarterback anointed about 2 weeks before the opener. So that tells me that Hackenberg has really impressed everybody and probably closed the gap with Ferguson. And just the poise of this guy, I have not seen. None of us have really seen them in action to know. But I think
we
Hackenberg's
saw,
going to be the guy
we saw
eventually.
Ferguson in the blue-white game, and I think he saw some good things. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not quite as big as Hackenberg, but he moves pretty well, throws well on the run. Hackenberg, if you look at this kid, he's big. I mean, he's. As O'Brien has said, he's athletic and he has a gun of an arm. I know. We were there for a couple of practices, and you get a feel for how that ball coming out. You talk about NFL arms, and you really have to wonder. I think the key, though, more than who starts, is the group that they have around these guys. To me, that's the whole key. Yeah. 3 years from now, or next year, Hackenberg may be leading them to whatever, or Ferguson. But right now, you have a great skill group and you have a really good offensive line, and I think that's going to be the key for this offense.
And that's really a great lead into what we're talking about, because whoever is in charge of under center, they've got some great guys to throw to. And keep in mind, the Nittany Lions were dealing with a number of guys last year with little to no experience. Allen Robinson, Kyle Carter. Allen Robinson's your receiver of the year. Matt McGloin, what he did last year leading the Big Ten in passing, but specifically that receiving core and the tight ends coming back this year. Whoever that quarterback is, like Mark said, you've got the top talent to throw to.
You have my take on the quarterback. I think Christian Hackenberg will be the quarterback of the future, but probably the first game, since Ferguson went through spring drills with the team and maybe has a little better feel for the offense at this point. I think, and they're both, you'd hate to lose either kid because I think they're both going to be decent quarterbacks, and I think they could win with either one of them. I don't think it's, a major point. I mean, I think, like you were saying, their tight end situation. I don't think there's a team in the country could have better tight ends than what Penn State has.
And not just the talent that they have, but how they use them. And I think that's going to create these little dump-off patterns to get whoever is the quarterback pretty comfortable, and you saw that last year.
And that was one of the real fun things with Bill O'Brien, is that the way he, you would see the tight end lining up in the backfield, and then you would see Zordich lining up as an ex-receiver all the way out on the outside. And I think that's kind of if he was able to do that last year with, a relatively inexperienced cast, it's going to be real fun to see what this mad scientist is able to do. Don't forget, they have some pretty good running backs. Akeel Lynch, obviously,
Zach
Zwinak, and don't sleep on Bill Belton. He's a guy who was slowed down last year by an ankle injury. I think he's going to be able to do some things. So they have so many mix and match options that I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Switch gears a little bit, talk a little bit about the defense. A little more turnover there. Michael Monty, Gerald Hodges, and Jordan Hill among the notable departures, and of course some big ones there. But Glenn Carson, Mike Hall, Daquan Jones among the big names who are coming back to kind of you look to kind of carry this torch. Deion Barnes in there as well. And once again, you're talking about a unit that's got some big names out there. We're seeing John Butler right here, a good guy heading up that unit. Some names out there. Another solid defense we'd have to assume this year for Penn State.
I think the question here is going to be leadership and depth. Particularly at the linebacker position, where they've had so much great leadership over the years. I mean, Hull's being counted on, but really beyond him, Klein could be an X factor, and Wertman if he comes back healthy. But that's a position they can't afford to lose anybody.
Yeah, Wertman's fine, and one guy to keep an eye on, and we just saw him there, is Hull. No, I mean Carson is obviously an established starter, but Mike Hull, to me, I don't think there's going to be much of a drop off from Gerald Hodges, and that's not a knock on an NFL guy, but this is a guy in Hull who was making plays all over the place last year, whether intercepting passes, returning a fumble for a touchdown. This guy is a pure football player. He's going to be really good for them, but as Neil said, depth. The other thing, some new faces in key places in the secondary. They have more depth in the secondary, but in Williams and Lucas at the corners, these guys are both big and athletic, but they've never started a game at corner, so look for Syracuse to try to exploit that.
I think that was one of the interesting storylines of the offseason was the guys getting reps at the linebacker position, Stephen Obeng-Ajapong and Adrian Amos. Mike?
But again, I look at the linebackers, and I think there'll be a little bit of a drop-off in linebackers because, I mean, you have Hodges and Motti that are now in the NFL. I understand Motti might have gotten hurt again, but the other day somebody told me he did. But
Jordan Hill a little banged
losing Jordan Hill up front. I mean, they lost three key guys there. That And I agree with Mark that I think their secondary is going to be much better than it has been. They have a lot more depth in the secondary than they had before. And some of these other guys have to step up, the Wortman and Ben Kleins and some of those people that can play. But I can't imagine anybody as being athletic as Hodges was last year. I mean,
we ought to mention Amos because Brennan Fight on State did a list the best players on the team right now, and Amos ranked among, I think, your top 5. Right?
Well, I mean, this was a guy who is 6'1", 215, 217, was fast enough to play corner for them when they needed him last year. And I think he has the ability to be a star at safety. Not just a good player. I think he has the ability to be a star at safety.
All right, Brennan said star, and that's ironically what we're going to be talking about. Some of your breakout players on both the offensive and defensive end coming up. Who will be the breakout stars in 2013? I just stole a phrase from Brennan. We'll find out from these guys in just a bit. You're watching a brand new season of the Nitwits. Stay with us.
The Nitwits are brought to you by the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal.
Hey, I'm Penn State wide receiver Derek Moore, and you're watching the Nitwits.
Derek Moisick, another one from a couple years back, trying to make the Steelers roster
hope he
this year.
does.
Yeah, best of luck to him. Back here on the Nitwits with you. Penn State getting set to open up the season against Syracuse at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, coming up on Saturday at 3:30. And we've touched over the first 20 minutes or so, guys, on some names, some breakout stars that we might see. Could come from anywhere, offensively, defensively. Mike, anybody standing out to you that you're looking for
I'll
this
tell you,
year?
there are so many names of people that you probably have 10 potential stars in that program right now. But
Yeah.
I'll say one as a running back, Lynch, and I think he might help them in the kickoff return and the punt returns. I don't know. That's where they really lacked last year. They were number 10, I think, in the Big Ten in kickoff returns and punt returns. They were 9th or 10th. So I think they need some help in that area. They haven't performed real well returning the ball.
Spoken by a former punt returner, brought one back 75 yards against West Virginia. I'll pick C.J. Oliniak.
Yeah.
He looks
Doesn't even
like
know his name.
How do you spell that,
I know
Neil?
his number.
Olanian.
In Neil's defense, Bill O'Brien says it's
I only
probably
know the numbers.
Don't confuse me with the facts.
I
He
know the
looks like he's
numbers.
going to be a good player at a position they need some help.
The guy's like a fifth-year senior or fourth-year senior. Neil's dipping
going out
down.
on a limb.
His star finally lit this year.
Oh my goodness.
This will be.
We're
the
so
year for
excited.
CJ.
I hope he makes a starting lineup.
And I was anxious to get here.
He was worried that somebody was going to steal his guy. I think Oliniak's going to be a
You're
good
the only
player.
one on Olivia.
Oliniak's still available.
Oliniak. We're still messing the name up.
I'm going to go with two players. Geno Lewis, wide receiver, converted high school quarterback, just a terrific athlete, long arms, big hands, and Austin Johnson on that defensive line. I think look out. I mean, this guy I think is their next, not to take away from Daquan Jones, but I think Austin Johnson has a chance to be that next star under Larry Johnson's tutelage.
And I'm going to steal one from Akeel Lynch was on my list. I'm anxious to see what he can do this year. And I'm going to go Naeem Wortman's a guy I think is going to be interesting too, along with the Deion Barneses of the world and some of those other guys we saw a little bit out of last year. I think Penn State's going to be looking pretty good right there. We got to take our final break though. As you know, Syracuse is the Week 1 opponent. We'll give you our final thoughts as well as pick our winner for the Syracuse game coming up next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday.
Alrighty, back here on the NitWits. Syracuse, the Week 1 opener for Penn State. That's in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, of course, a neutral site. And then it's 3 straight home games for Penn State at Beaver Stadium, Eastern Michigan, UCF, and Kent State coming to town. The big ones on the schedule, too, guys, as you know, back-to-back games against Michigan and the trip to Ohio State. Does this team match the 8-4 record, maybe do a little bit better this year, Neil?
Well, I think 8-4 is what I picked. It's sort of an on-the-fence pick. Most people are picking about that. I think it's kind of a non-committal prediction. I think there's enough games there that they should win, but I think there's some trouble spots, particularly on the road. I don't think it's going to be easy at Indiana, at Minnesota, on top of the obvious ones, Ohio State and Wisconsin, and the home schedule with Michigan and Nebraska coming in. So I say 8-4.
Yeah, and as I look at it, I'm 8-4 too, and that's a waffle pick, I know. But as you look at the schedule, there's probably 8 games they're going to be favored in, and 4 they won't be favored in. Now, I'm going to twist it up a little bit and say I think they win one of those games they're not supposed to, and then they may lose one of these tough road games. Yeah. But the real wild card here is 8. I'm saying 8-4, and I won't hedge off of that. But if they have a few key injuries, it could get real difficult in a hurry. And you hope for their sake, after everything they've been through, that they're able to stay healthy.
Mike?
Yeah, I read these guys' predictions, so I knew what they were going to predict.
You're not supposed to
so
say
I didn't have to go
You're
too
supposed to
high.
cheat.
Guess what, Mike? We know what you're going to pick, too.
9-3. I'm going to go 9-3.
Wow.
Is that a record?
I think they will win one of those big
You've
4
turned
games.
into a pessimist.
No, I'm optimistic, but I know just to beat you two guys, all I had to do is go 9-3. Now, I don't know about Casey. You never know about Casey.
I was going to say 9-3, Mike, but I take Mark's points as well. The injuries with the depth issues and the scholarship reductions. I mean, the injuries could really hamper this team, obviously. But I am going to go 9-3 with this football team this year, and we'll go from there. Let's get the Syracuse picks real quick, though, around the table.
Yeah, I'm going to go somewhat decisive. I think that there's just a lot of energy in the program right now, and I'm not sure Syracuse is quite at the level yet. I'm going to say Penn State 31, Syracuse 17.
I'll go 27-17 Penn State. This Syracuse team last year was a pretty good team, but they lost Nassib. They lost a really good offensive lineman, some of their best receivers.
New head coach.
New head coach. So both teams have some adjusting to do. I just think Penn State has less, and I think they're going to be so much more comfortable in the offense this year.
Mike?
I'm going to go I'm trying to add all these numbers.
You don't have enough time.
Okay, I'll go. I was going to go 27-17, but now I'm going to
Go ahead, split
change. No, I don't want to split the nitwit of the week. So I'll go. I'll say Penn State will score 30, and Syracuse is going to score 10. So I'll go pretty big.
High,
20.
Mike, high.
I'm going high.
I'm going to go 27-19 Penn State. I think the opener always, a little bit of challenge. Obviously, a neutral site as well. But Penn State's going to come out of the gate a little bit better than they did last year, I think, and we're going to see.
Squeezing me a little bit.
I might be, Mark.
That's all right.
You know what?
You're learning. You're learning.
I'm not learning any. That's an indicator of things to come. Mark.
8, 10,
Who do you think
14,
you're John
and 20.
Herschel or someone with these math?
Oh man.
Hey, it's great to be back with
yes.
everybody.
Oh, it is.
16 years. Whoa.
Good point.
On behalf of the Nitwit Nation. I know you guys are pushing the Nitwit Nation.
Yeah, that's a perfect wrap. It's going to do it for us. We are back on at our originally scheduled time this season, 11:35 on WTAJ. We hope to see all you folks out there all season long. For Neil Riddell, Mark Brennan, Mike Irwin, I'm Casey Kantz. So long, everybody.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, an independent firm and firm foundation for your financial future. Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Doctors Howells and Reed, orthodontics for children and adults. By Pacifico's Bakery, genuine Italian bread and rolls for your tailgating needs. By Fiore True Value on 6th Avenue in Altoona, just ask rental. By the Altoona Professional Hearing Aid Center, your hearing aid healthcare professional. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your cleaning needs. By your rehab choice, Health South of Altoona. Ask for us by name. By J&P Auto, home of the $1,000 push, pull, or tow. By Courtesy Motors of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. by FightOnState.com, as close as you get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday. You can also see the NitWits on AltoonaMirror.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.